Welcome, fans, to another live edition of the Cheap Heat Productions Pro Wrestling Podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling, and we're pleased tonight to welcome back to the channel a man who definitely made his mark in one of the golden eras of professional wrestling in the United States. A man who is known for his time in Eastern Championship Wrestling, ECW, but also several other areas, several other points in between. He is got a lot of good stories to tell, and we're going to endeavor to get to a lot of them within the time constraints that we have. And I would be talking about none other than Chris Michaels, a.k.a. Bill Pierce, also known now as Uncle Billy, I see by the moniker. Welcome, first of all, Chris, to the Cheap Heat Productions Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Well, happy to be back again. Maurice, I know you're doing daddy duty. Yes, I said duty, and not necessarily cleaning up duty, but nonetheless being a father, which is very important because Father's Day, by the way, just passed a few days ago. And if you're a father, happy Father's Day. You mother. Anyway, so.
And happy 4th of July. I see you've got the regalia there for our friends and family in the United States. What is with the new Uncle Billy moniker, though, before we get into the questions?
Okay. There is a company out here on Long Island, New York, that needs recognition, and by God, I'm going to give it to them tonight, whether they like it or not. They're a company called NYWC, known as New York Wrestling Connection. Got myself a word, pardon me. And they've actually been out there working, training new up-and-coming talent. And believe it or not, lots of their people have made it to WWE, AEW. Let's just say, for instance, one of the gentlemen who was running the place as far as helping with the talent and the shows and whatnot is someone who I know very well, Mikey Whipwreck. I helped break him in when he was about 16 years old. That's a whole other story. We could use that for our next thing. But let's just remember the gerbils, and it's got nothing to do with felching. So, yeah, you knew what that meant. So anyway.
So I followed the career of Richard Gere.
Yeah, well, imagine. Who knew? So anyway, NYWC, and I can say like people that right now that you may know of, like Alex Reynolds, John Silver, Willow, who was just recently one of their champions. Let me see, Tony Nese, Mike Mondo. There's several other people I'm more leaving out, but NYWC.com Pro Wrestling. They're located in Deer Park, New York. They're a great training facility, plus they do great shows. And I'd actually like to see them be the next ECW, so I'm putting it out into the universe.
Well, yeah, and like I always say, support independent wrestling. It's always been and always will be the lifeblood of the business, aside from the corporate side. What do you got there, a little Betty?
Well, it's actually just a Malta, which is just usually of Spanish folks. My wife, like Guyanese, they like it. But getting back to Uncle Billy real quick, I just want to let you know where it was associated with. And I'm kind of like the background person for. There's a tag team by the name of Dirty Deeds, and they are a redneck tag team, good old Dirty South type tag team, and there's plenty of videos on their Facebook page showing the antics that they're open, plus, of course, highlighting a lot of the rest of the talent that's in there, which are great talents, some yet to be discovered, some, already that had been. So just wanted to give Dirty Deeds their props for kind of giving me a little reason to be out there. I'm not really wrestling per se. I'm just in the background. I'm kind of like, the crazy Uncle Billy, so to speak. If I Kind of, things look a little different when you, yes, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. You kind of got the Dutch Mantel Zeb Coulter kind of thing, or his personification with the Harris brothers back in the day.
Well, that's kind of cool. I mean, if I had the braids on today, see, my wife actually make these gimmick braids for selling, of course, and it's made. The bandanas are done, they're sewn, and then I have like the fake hair with the braids hanging down, just kind of like thing. And then, of course, I have a cowbell that I ring. More cowbell, baby. Gotta have cowbell. And but anyway. Look, I guess we can get back 30 deeds, which I'd like to have them. I know if I've also mentioned to Maurice, I'd love to have a thing where we have a whole bunch of us, maybe in the backyard with some chickens, show you how we get down.
That's tremendous. Well, we'll get to the whole plugging of what you have to promote in the end of the interview, but I thought it's always a good place to start when talking to people in the business about growing up. Were you a fan of the business, and what or how did you decide to pursue such a crazy enterprise as professional wrestling?
All right. Well, truth be told, I wasn't a child that was like so like into what was going on, because back then it was when it was just the burly guys, it was no music, none of that stuff. That was the days of Bruno Sammartino, Killer Kowalski, Angelo Savoldi. He was even the era of Gorgeous Georgia wrestling of time like that, and when I was watching it with my father, it was on WOR, was a channel out here, and at the time, wasn't OR, but it was all dubbed in Spanish. So we didn't know what was going on, but we heard the crowd. It was all excited, so we kind of, kind of got into it a little bit back then, and kind of went away with that. And then later on down the road, when I was in the U.S. Army, when I was down in Fort Polk, Louisiana, down in good old Mid-South wrestling territory. And that's before it became the UWF of Cowboy Bill Watts, not to be confused with Herb Abrams, who came afterwards. So that was kind of like the wrestling that got me interested, because down south, of course, they're more serious about it. There's more of a religion to them. They appreciate the chain wrestling, not so much the flippity-do. And they're loyal. They're, and some, will get into a fist fight, which you're telling your wrestle is real. So that's the part. And then I honestly could say at that time, it was because you had guys like the Steiner brothers and Road Warriors and Raging Bull Manny Fernandez. So who wouldn't fall in love with men out there? There's some personas and good stuff that was going on. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Terry Taylor, before they ruined him with that stupid rooster gimmick. Junkyard Dog. All of that stuff got me interested. So I was like, wow, man, I especially after attending a live event at the Fort Polk Fieldhouse, I said, I think I could do this. Now seeing it outside of television, I'm seeing it one-dimensional now. I'm seeing the bumps, I'm seeing this, and I'm like, well, look, when I was in high school, I did wrestling for a little bit. I did gymnastics, and I was in drama club. Hell, if I made an omelet out of that, I think I could do this crap. And that's kind of like where I got my desire for it. Mm-hmm. So that's where the itch came from, I guess, if you really wanted to know where it came from. Because I really, like I said, I really wasn't a kid that was, wearing the T-shirts and all of that crap. I was already in the Army at that point. I was already in my early 20s. Mm-hmm. I didn't break in until I was 1980. I didn't break into 89, but I started training 88.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with. What was the moment that you decided, you know what, I'm gonna give this a shot? And what did your training process look like as compared to? We're seeing a lot of very standardized cookie cutter training in the business now. What did your training entail?
Okay, let me see. Out of curiosity on my camera, I'm just wondering if I can. All right, now I'm not able to. I want to see if I can flip the camera around. Okay, so what made me say, like I think I could do it when I watch it in person. And after the UWF at the time offered a training academy, I was still enlisted in the Army, so there was no way in hell that they're going to let me go, let me go to do that. So wasn't able to. So that was, couldn't do it. So it was after I got out of the Army, I was working a job at this place. And one of the girls at my job was, let's see, she was goofing around saying something, and I was joking. We were talking about wrestling. I said, "Oh yeah, I'll body slam you." She goes, "Yeah, well, my dad will body slam you back. He's a wrestler." I said, "Oh, really? What kind of wrestling?" "Well, professional wrestling, blah blah blah." "Really? Oh, that's interesting." His name was Mark Tendler, God rest his soul. And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And he goes, "Yeah, and he has a wrestling school too." I said, "Oh, really, does he?" So then now I'm like, So I'm no idea what a wrestling school is going to be. So the best way I could put it is think of the first Rocky and, as gritty as you could possibly get. So I get to her house where her father has his wrestling school. Get the house, and well, where's the wrestling school? Where's the ring? Oh, well, go in the garage. Go inside the garage, and in New York we say fugazi. So it was a fugazi wrestling. It was not a ring. Basically, what it was, like the columns that were holding up that were inside the garage had ropes on it, like it was a ring, and there was 2x4s, plywood, and collegiate wrestling matting on top, simulating a place to learn to take bumps. Henceforth, I had to learn how to take my bumps on that. Learn how to take a back bump on that. And at that time, Mick Foley would come to that school and would significantly give against the boot and beat the crap out of us to go ahead and welcome us into the Brotherhood. And if you survive the boot, you come back after you pay your non-refundable deposit and sign your waiver. At least that was the carny back then. At least that was for what I heard of out in some wrestling school in Allentown, Pennsylvania, whose name I won't say, but I'm sure if you've heard the stories, it would be, and it was really the way that you weeded out everybody was the boot. Get the money up front, give the guy the boot. Guy's serious, come back, great. We got a worker. He's going to keep the code, kind of like, magicians. You don't have magicians leaking the freaking business. Not like this. But anyway, I digress. Mm-hmm. By the way, I'm in my garage, so if you hear banging and booming, it's fireworks. If you suddenly see red from here, it's a drive-by. Just.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. But yes,
no,
it's the
I'm in the part of Queens that doesn't have that crap happen. Don't worry.
Thank goodness. So, can you talk about? This is one aspect of your career that is very interesting to me, considering I was a fan of the UWF, Herb Abrams UWF. You were all over the UWF Fury Hour, the syndicated TV. Can you talk about how you came to be employed by Herb and some of your impressions early on of the company as a whole? Because it was at one point, put forward as being, this is going to be, the replacement for the AWA, so to speak.
Well, I think Herb had all the, at least from my perception, had all the spirit. He had the desire. He certainly was charismatic enough and got people to believe in what he was doing. I mean, he did get a lot of guys that were getting cycled out from Vince, but I mean, they were still relevant. I mean, when Morocco was there, he was less than his Rock's physique. But I did get, let's see, I think Paul Orndorff, Don the Rock, Mick Foley again, didn't pin me either. I got counted out. Power Twins, I was tag teaming with the Sal Sincere, Tom Brady, who was went out. I think he just went out as not Tom Brady, Jesus Christ. But
Tom Brady. Yeah.
So I'm thinking some names from UWF. I thought at the time, I thought at the time it was hot and up and coming. And guy that got me to go there, that brought me in, was a guy named Al Schaefer, who knew a connection somehow, and because not just the connection somehow, it's because he had the ring that they were using. That's the reason how we had the connection. I had to draw reverse clock a little. And he had that, needed guys to put guys over. Here we go. Went out there, did a couple of jobs first time. Then he thought, they kind of liked what I had. I talked about my military background. Then all of a sudden I become Corporal Chris Michaels. So that was like a wow, and I mean, the way you see, I mean, it started out in Cali and made its way to New York, and you figure crossing over into New York, New York and Philly is two of the toughest crowds to be in front of. Absolute toughest. Philly, I'd say even more so. I think Philly would rate a road rage drive by. They'd sit there and they'd actually, start ECW chanting for crap. I mean, they're crazy, but I love them. It's like, there's no fans more loyal than Philly fans. That's one thing I'll give them credit for. I got to give you his props. I love these Philly fans. It's Betsy for each stuff for my ECW time.
Mm-hmm.
So what else? What else about Herb? Herb, I can tell you. But I really think. Of course, his demise. I really don't want to speak ill of the dead, and perhaps he reached the point where I guess maybe he realized he was not going to reach his goal. God only knows what happened. I only just pray that whatever happened, that he got absolution from God when he crossed over. That's all I can say. I don't want to speak ill for anybody.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about and you mentioned, some of the names that you faced on TV. You mentioned Orndorff, Morocco, Cactus Jack, and Ivan Koloff. Just to name a few, the Power Twins.
I'll blame Bob Orton, by the way. It just happened to pop in my head. Guy that taught me how to open a beer bottle with a Bic lighter.
And that's a skill in and of itself. When you were given those those rather high profile spots to work these guys on TV, were you talking to Herb about doing other things with the company, kind of like Sunny Beach, who was transitioned from doing a lot of those things to becoming a bona fide attraction himself? What was your understanding as to the spot you were going to have in the company?
Well, oddly enough, let's see. After the second time I came, a little thing happened. I ended up meeting this girl that was at the show, not a ring rat. She was actually the niece of this gentleman by the name of Lenny Duke. Hope he's doing well. My ex-wife now, but anyway, I met her. He was the guy who came. It was the guy that did Herb Abrams with editing and stuff. He came from Cali. He worked for Jay Leno doing that Tonight Show. NBC Studios. He was in charge of all of their crap, so they brought him over. So my involvement with her, at first, didn't go well, so I may as well tell this part of the story. Is that he was upset about it because, oh my God, it's a wrestler, and they were actually going to try to pay Dr. Death to throw a beating on me, but that never happened. But eventually I ended up marrying her, so for 6.5 years, thing didn't work out. Hey, it is what it is. But it was this thing. I had a hook with that, and just a little side note on that, just to carry on with just with this guy, just to segue to it, just because they give some story to Lenny real quick. He was actually supposed to be the guy that did all that stuff for WWF before it became WWE, when they started doing all that Undertaker lightning coming from the stuff. He was a magician that was a member of the Magic Castle, California, which you got to be like top notch. He was actually supposed to work with them. If he got with them, I would have been pulled right back with them. There was an accident. Road Warriors, Godwins had a match. They got thrown under guardrails, landed on him and his kids. Kids got injured, lawsuit, so that stopped. So just a quick, that was a side note on that. That was a trivia thing with that, which may bear any relevance, may not, but it was just something to do. I just want to give that guy Lenny some kind of recognition, because the guy did do a lot for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So were you under the impression that, as many were in the company, that the UWF was going to be a viable, third company in terms of the United States scene? And were you surprised when things went south for Mr. Abrams?
Well, I'll say from the first two shows, the excitement from that and the capacity of the New York Penta Hotel, where they was kind of mainstreaming his stuff. Manhattan, of course, is the hub for everything right there. It's right across from Madison Square Garden. He didn't quite make the Garden, but we all thought it was heading really in a great direction. Like you were mentioning, Sunny Beach, Rick Allen, great guy. Shout out to Rick. Him and Stevie Ray, Wet n Wild. Yeah, I remember that. It was a big thing, and I think the Beach Brawl is kind of where that pay-per-view, there was this big thing. They thought they were gonna do rather well, and didn't exceed. Didn't meet the expectation, I guess, they expected. I guess right around that point is when things started to, the axis started tipping in the other direction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the major historical highlights, and you touched on them already, was the spotlight that UWF put on Cactus Jack. I mean, he was kind of in a marginalized position in WCW beforehand, but you worked him. Do you have any stories from that particular match or your interactions with Mr. Foley?
Okay, well, I mean, aside from when I was training in the wrestling school and beating the crap out of us, I did wrestle with him on TV one time before that, for the Savoldis and ICW. That was at Angelo Savoldi, Mario, and their group. That's actually the first group I worked with. And then let's see, so the Savoldis from that and there. Crap. Lost my train of thought there for a second. Don't mind.
No worries.
Why we I was going from what now? I'm kind of like, yeah, that's that little, because I just like that. I was thinking of something else from that time too. I'm trying to think. Oh, from Mick. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, yes, that's right. So I wrestled him, and I'm trying to think where it was. It was upstate somewhere or whatever. And he did. I'm trying to. He pinned me the first one, and the second one UWF he didn't. But outside of business, when we talked, when I first came out of the Army and I went into the National Guard for a bit. So during my time in the National Guard, there was this girl. Let's see, her last name was Lorenzano. Beautiful Puerto Rican girl. Oh man, everything about her. She was bodacious in every way, boob, backside, everything. And she said to me, she found out I was wrestling, and she's like, oh, she had like this big thing for the Ultimate Warrior, and and then she's mentioning my friend Mick, and then Mick Foley. Said, so you're asking me to get you an autograph from Ultimate Warrior? I said, hell, I said, you get a better chance of getting it from Mick. And then when I was talking with him one time, we were laughing, I said, oh, her name is Michelle. There we go. I said, Michelle Lorenzano. That name ring a bell to you? He goes, oh, wait a second. I said, yeah, that Michelle. Holy crap, yeah, you like it? Yeah, she's pretty cute, huh? So did she ask you for Ultimate Warrior's autograph? I said, well, I told her to ask you next time she sees you. So, but that was like a cute little common thing. And he gave me 2 of his T-shirts at a Tommy D show. Tommy D was the guy that actually, I think he booked and he wrote talk about how he used to help set his rings up. And he was breaking into business also. But yeah, I gave me 2 T-shirts. I still have one of them to this day. One I gave to my son. Unfortunately, one of the Army guys that was bunking with him ended up jacking it from him. So it was like that was kind of low rent. But still got mine. It's had not touched the washing machine too many times. You only wear it on special occasions.
That's awesome. You then went on to do a lot of syndicated TV work with the WWF. Wanted to ask how you got booked there and listen to the who's who of names you were in the ring with: Sergeant Slaughter, Iron Sheik, Undertaker, Earthquake and Typhoon, Nasty Boys, Ric Flair, Road Warriors. Like what a who's who. How did you get those spots, and any memories stand out? I also forgot, of course, how could I? Jacques Rougeau, the Bounty, being a fellow Canadian. But how did you get that spot or those spots, and anything stick out from those TV matches that you had?
Well, Slaughter, of course, was my first match. But the very, very first thing that I did for them, before you mentioning the wrestling, was SummerSlam 90. I was there, and I carried the Macho King out when he was wrestling Dusty Rhodes for that retirement match. So that was my first thing, which my buddy, the same guy, Al, who rented the ring for Mr. Abrams, knew a man by the name of John Arizzi, which, if you're in the world of wrestling, the name you should know. He knew, Terry Garvin. In turn, they needed gentlemen to do preliminaries, which at the time there was plenty of us. And he was like, hey, what the hell? There was myself, Brian Donahue, which I'm sure you're familiar with, who's been on more recent show as well, which was a good buddy of mine, a guy who would go on to be known as Big Guido, otherwise, or Primo Carnero III, Big Mike. He was part of us. Even Big Guido. Not Guido. I'm sorry. Big Vito. When he was Skull Von Cross. Him. When let me see. Before he was even Little Guido, and before he was even what was the other name they had him out there?
Nunzio.
Little Guido was ECW, and then what was that?
Nunzio.
Right, Nunzio. There you go. I'm sorry. Yeah, Nunzio. He was also out there doing stuff early then. He was also there early ECW as well. So we all would go around. I think Al Phillips was another guy. I'm just trying to think of some other guys' names that would ride with us. Mike Williams, and Mike Durham, God rest his soul. Mike Durham, who also was part of Public Enemy, was Johnny Grunt.
Yeah.
So all of us, we have 2 stretch vans, and we drive to different towns, and we do the preliminaries. We go in, wrestle a couple times, go to the next town, wrestle a couple times, just do the TV, do TV tapings. And that was, pretty much, no cell phones, no GPS, the Hagströms, and you didn't even have MapQuest either. You couldn't do any of that crap. So it was all, good stuff. And back then we had the VCRs, TVs, so we were able to watch movies at least, and at least something to do while we're on the road. And I do want to give a Canada story, since I'm talking about these vans. You'll get a laugh about it, or say a laugh about it. We were just crossing over. I think we had just got done doing Erie, Pennsylvania, where we got done doing, I think, wrestling the Sheik. We crossed over and we're going to Ottawa or Cornwall, one of the two, but we went to either one of the two. One crossed over, go get gasoline first. Forget you're on metric over there. Sitting there looking at the price. Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. It just keeps going up. I'm saying, what the fuck? How the hell, man? It's so damn cheap. Why does it keep going up? Then we're thinking about it. Then we're like, I couldn't figure it out. Whatever. We'll go out, pay for it. Give us, U.S. currency. Gives us back Canadian money. Like, hell are we gonna do with this fucking comic book money, man? How do we know you ain't ripping us off? We go, well, you have to trust me, eh? Like, fuck. All right, well, whatever. So, first experience in Canada. Second one, all right, now so got to drive north. So I don't know which end has the farmer area is Cornwall, Ottawa. I don't know which one is more of that, but that's where we were driving to first. So we're in there, and I remember talking to you, Big Guido, Big Mike, what's his name, Primo Canero, big guy. We're in the van, and of course, all got, all protein shakes and this and that. Of course, you don't want to be around people drinking protein shakes, so you know what happens later. And Big Mike, because he's 6'9", big fat bastard, got to sit up in the front of the van. So when we got, we're just sitting there, nice, air conditioned, good to go. He decides to let one rip. Wasn't so bad at first, but then by the time it wafted to the back, we're like, you fuck. You fucking Sasquatch, you motherfucker. So we're rolling the windows down. So about that time, we're passing a dairy farm. Fucking cow shit stink worse outside. We had to roll the windows back up. Motherfucker. So that was one of my Canada stories. Figured get a kick out of that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that would be probably the Cornwall area where, there's a lot of dairy cattle. In terms of your experiences there, were you ever, given that you wrestled so many matches on TV and pretty high profile positions, was there ever any discussion of you returning to do more work with them, or how did that play out before you went to Eastern, which we'll get to next?
Well, we were really only doing stuff on the northeastern TV tapings. So it's not like they were flying us out to the West Coast, because why should they have that expense? There's plenty of guys on the West Coast that could do the same thing. So we were basically for Metro, New York, whatever area, and then up north, up that way. So I guess, and I was kind of doing ECW and WWF at the same time. So that's kind of where I had. That's why when I kind of stopped with the WWF and went to the ECW, because at that time, hallelujah. That's when they were starting to really pick up some steam, and they were getting a little bent because, hey man, you're getting squashed over there. We're trying to put you over. I'm like, yeah, okay, understand fully, and gave it that chance to say, hey, okay, let me see if maybe I could make something out of myself with them, and because I've always felt if they really want you, they'll come get you. And that's really how it is. And you have to make yourself a commodity, I think, and that's where the branding aspect comes into it, where you could actually look directly above me here, branding. That's what the world means, and that's the part of it. And the believability that you have with connecting with the fans really is the part, because the fans really determine who's over. The company could push. I mean, man, it took the force feeding of Roman Reigns for you to finally, it's like that song on the radio you hate, but after a while you start singing to it.
Yeah.
So it's, so I mean they conditioned you, and it's like conditioning. Conditioning is anything, it's like take away something for, like they say with a dog, you cut a link of its chain, one link at a time, each day at a time, and eventually at some point they'll just give up trying to walk because there's nowhere for them to go. So but everyone's conditioned that way, and it's weird, but like same thing with wrestling. Like you're hearing all this buzz with this Jade Cargill chick, girl, great physique, great look. I mean, first sight, I'd be a guy. I'd have a love sock over her too if I was, one of the young kids rubbing one out. She looks great, but they say, she's still green. Yeah, but look, I remember Randy Orton when he was first out there doing, he was screwing up big time a lot. And there was a lot of stuff they missed, but there's like so much you could edit out of a freaking match. So. But then you look, as time goes along, his timing gets down, and now look at him. The guy's timing is so crisp, and it's that like you see him just boom, RKO out of nowhere. So you see how it goes. So they've invested a lot in this girl, and and a lot of these dirt sheets. Well, they're saying who, you guys. Who they saying? Well, who are your sources? Are you the source? You know what I mean? So, time tells it everything. The fans determine, if you're over or not. Really, look at the gimmicks that didn't get over. Repo Man, Big Bully Busick, Bastion Booger, someone who I know very well, Damian Demento. Lots of things that didn't get over. Thought it would have went well, but this fans just and I really think Demento was probably 5 years too late. If he was there 5 years sooner, I think he would have got a better shine. That is my personal opinion. Look, I mean, he was my best friend for 30 years. We had a parting of ways. No animosity towards. We had a disagreement over something and haven't spoken since. But aside from time spent doing all the, videos and things we worked on together. And to his credit, he's an extremely accomplished artist, probably way better than ever a wrestler. So if he'll ever be remembered for anything, it won't be Damian Vento. You'll look at his art. I will say that for him, and I want to at least give that guy credit for that.
Yeah, and you're certainly right about getting over more. When you were part of those early Eastern Championship Wrestling shows, what was we've heard a lot about the ECW arena and Swanson Rittner, but those early shows for Eastern were a lot of them happened at the original sports bar in Philly.
Yep.
What was that venue like to work at that time frame?
Well, it was kind of cool because Nikolai Volkov, Jimmy Snuka, they were there at the time. I think Morocco eventually made his way. Those at least stick with the early name guys that were helping to draw before Eddie actually made his way down there. And then, of course, once Eddie came, he brought his brother. Terry Funk wasn't too far behind. The sports bar was great. And mentioning the sports bar, I think I wrestled this guy, Russian Jack Hill. I'll give Jack Hill, hey Jack, my first match with the sports bar. Did some Russian gimmick. I committed the USA gimmick, easy thing. Back then, you still had the Russian USA shit was still fresh. Did that. It was great. And then I remember eventually that's when Eddie was coming onto the scene. They had a big, like a tryout kind of first TV taping that they were doing for Eastern Championship Wrestling, which they were taking a shot with the local talent that was already there, and see what happens. So I came out my first match for that was at this college, Can't remember its name. I wish I could. That's when my father was still alive. God rest his soul. He came with me at the time. And subsequently got snowed in, but that's another thing. I tag team with Lloyd Anoy, one of the of course from the family. He came out as the Samoan Warrior. I just came out as Chris Michaels from New York, of course. I'm a New York guy, Philly guy. Right away, they don't like, right away started with the New York sucks. And I wrestled with Tony Stetson and Larry Winters, another one, God rest his soul. Jesus Christ, I hate fucking saying that. And that was my match. So in there, mixing it up, and Lloyd's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing, and then Tony throws me out. I do a skin the cat, and I'm smart. Then turn around, clothesline me out on the floor. When I had the blonde hair and everything else, it was crazy, and it was great. And then the match came with like the locker room clearing brawl, which of course that's way to leave it off. Your first, inaugural taping. Oh no, that wasn't even that. No, that was actually the first Arena show. My bad. But in any event, we did it, and then I went home. Waiting to find out. I get fall back in. What are we gonna do? Because I didn't think that I'd be. That would just be tagging with him because they didn't have to have a match. And my phone rings. I pick it up. And it's Eddie Gilbert. And I'm like, Eddie? Yeah, like, that's the moment you fucking ribbed me. I'm thinking, no caller ID back then. So, you had to deal with it, people. You had to pick up the phone, man. You had to pick it up. Now it's like the phone rings. You're like, you don't want to pick it up. Caller IDs made us all fucking neurotic. But pick it up. And it's like, yeah, and I want to tell you that I like what I saw. I like your cockiness, the way your attitude, and how you're doing this and that, and the moves, and you reminded me of a young Eddie Gilbert trying to do my shit in Memphis with my dad and this whole stuff, and I'm like, wow. That floored me because that was the first real positive feedback I had that said I had some type of potential. Because other than that, just being a preliminary guy going out there to be a jobber, which I wear that. I'm even going to have a place that put jobber on my cap someplace. I wear that with pride. What a lot of people don't understand is that the level of trust it takes to put you out there with these people, like like you mentioned, the Nasty Boys. You're going out there with these guys in front of 60,000 people. You're just not going to let some fucking yawner out there and embarrass a multi-million-dollar company. You're just not going to do that. So, to me, it was a big fucking deal. Maybe to now the kids it's something different, but to me it was important. It meant something, and the difference was we traveled with slacks and button-down shirts. Sometimes even with ties on. We carried ourselves like businessmen, not like these fucking jabronis that are marks for ourselves. We were just prelim guys. We weren't at the level of the Jimmy Snuka to walk around and cheat a print everywhere you went. It was because, they lived the gimmick. That was the kayfabe. That's the thing the kids don't understand. And of course, this is your future, pal. You're just starting. That's probably why you're keeping it like this, because you don't want this. This is it's a little off wrestling thing, just because this is coming in like this is crazy. It's almost like I want to make it pure white and wait till Christmas time. I don't have a gun or anything, but just to walk around watching kids acting up in school, in stores when moms are shopping and stuff, and just have like these different glasses on and have a Christmas hat on.
There's
watching you.
Nothing wrong with gray hair. It's very earned. So I wanted to
yeah, I think I earned most of this. So my son would spend 12 years in the Army jumping out of airplanes.
No doubt. No doubt. No shame in that game. Thank you for your service.
Appreciate it.
In terms of the local talent there, I've had the opportunity to interview so many greats from Eastern Championship Wrestling, including Hitman Tony Stetson, Johnny Hotbody. You mentioned
my former tag partner who didn't remember me.
you mentioned Larry
Poor
Winter.
fella. Yeah, well, that's Larry was down from Philly. See, I'm a New York guy, so my name wouldn't have just rolled off his mouth. I would have expected that. That's okay. No, I'm not mad at him for not remembering me. I understand.
But you were a crucial component of that recipe that moved
Suicide Blondes.
Yeah, move the company forward from Eastern to ECW. How is it that I wanted to talk about what the Philly style was that started in Eastern and then became ECW and then the Attitude Era and on and on. What role do you think that initial core group of talent in Eastern Championship Wrestling played in that whole phenomenon of developing the Philly style?
Well, they were part of there's another company called Tri-State Wrestling, Joel Goodhart, which became the Eastern Championship after Todd took it over. So those guys are from there, and they were already if you're a really like you were mentioned the older wrestling like Killer Kowalski and stuff like that. If anyone is nostalgic enough or has an old enough copy of the wrestling magazines, they were bloody. They were gory. Wrestling was lowbrow. It wasn't accepted back then. It was like wrestling. What do you drink? Beer?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't considered mainstream like it is now. It's a whole different thing.
What you mentioned the Suicide Blondes with, of course, Chris Candido, Johnny Hotbody. How did that whole package get put together, and who came up with utilizing that Freebird rule, which is always entertaining?
Well, as we're getting back to, we'll rewind a little bit back to talking to Eddie Gilbert. Like that rewind, that was really cool. I did it without putting the pencil in the cassette, if you're old enough to remember it. Anyway, that's how I used to cue my shit up back in the days in wrestling. Like, make sure you get, just push play. You don't got to do anything. Just push play. I cued it with my pencil. Showed my age. But, oh, Lord. See, I doing all of that, making a joke, and I fucking forget myself. Oh, my God. That's what happens with old age.
Just talking about the Suicide Blondes.
Oh, right. Getting back to my conversation with the Eddie Gilbert. So, during that time, building me up, which, like I said, it was like I just never had that. So, that was the one time I was like, wow, I just like felt like, whoa, like I was growing at that moment. And he said, I'm going to do something with you. It may piss off some of the other boys, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to add you to this tag team called Suicide Blondes, and then we're going to do the Freebirds rule type thing. And that's kind of where that went in. And Robin Hunter Q. Robbins III, who was the manager at the time, who was also was previously the manager for the Super Destroyers, AJ Petruzzi, which was one of them. So that was our group at the time. And of course, let us not forget, because he was so instrumental back then. Wildman Salvatore Bellomo, another one, God rest his soul. Sherry Martel. God, oof. But, the ones, that built it, even saying Snooker too, But, you're going to bring me in. Guys are going to get mad. We're going to do this thing with that. And then we did our thing with the Suicide Bonds against Super Destroyers, where the belt would drop and then won back again the same night. And then my feud with Sal Bellomo. which I was the first guy in ECW to bump a chick, which was Sherry. That was one of those schoolboy things when, we were doing a thing with me and Sal, and, her and Sal were in there, and Sal was, Wild Man Sal, the kid's pal would come out throwing his stuffed animals to the kids, and used to come out there with the Mummers Parade float head thing and jumping around. He was a big ball of energy. And while he was out there doing a thing with Sherry, we came out and they chop blocked him, got him down. I took my belt out, started beating him with the belt. She came to stop me with that. I shoved the Hunter Q was on his all fours. Boom, I showed her. She takes the bump. And then I continue to beat him down. Boom, 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 boom. And then we powered around after the Super Destroyers come in. So that's where the angle started with that. And then, moved on that little bit, back and forth. Yeah, and then, of course, here's how the history went. Then enter in Paulie somewhere into the picture, and then he started using him for the color and for doing the interviews in the back, which is where Paulie did in many other places as well, where he got his early starts down in the other companies too. So and then to fall out with Todd, and then Eddie's out, Paulie's in, and as Paulie's in comes Sabu, Tommy Dreamer, Taz, some other guys. I can't think of all of them at the time, but the only guy that was left standing once, Paulie, I guess, like it is, every booker's got guys they want, so, it's understandable. That's just how it is. I was booking for a friend of mine's company for a little bit, and everybody, yeah, no, you give me a spot. Like, that's not how it works. It's what the guy who owns the company wants, and then I go fishing for what he's asking for. That's how that works. I need this. I need this. I need this. Guy needs a midget match. I'm not going to talk to you. You're 5'8". You know what I mean? So it's not going to work. So, wrestling is a fickle business, as well as you know. Yeah. Before I start digressing too much.
No. And then you're saying that you were, once Paulie came in, you were kind of phased out.
Well, what happened at that point? Once Sabu came, first off, we were all like, "Wow, man, we're fucked. What are we gonna do to top that? Shoot somebody?" It's like at that point it was like we were irrelevant unless we were all. No, I can't say it was the only guy that lasted was Sandman, and I can say JT Smith lasted for a while till he ended up getting hurt. But I think JT Smith stayed there for a little bit. But there really weren't too many guys that lasted. But Sandman was the one tell-all that ended up standing, the last man standing. And irony of all ironies, the guy that secured that building for them was Johnny Hotbody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know if he had mentioned that during the thing, but that's what I was always told. And because he was, he lived out there, because right next to that place right there was a place you could buy some good some blemished clothes that weren't, like the factory second. I remember my ex-wife used to go shopping there first, then go to ECW.
You're talking about the building at Swanson and Rittner.
Right next to it, they had hey, as it starts, it's already 8:05. That's as it starts getting darker. So I brought my studio light down in here, so that's why you still get the nice light here. Actually, I'm not able to reverse my camera. I gotta show you. I'm in my garage, normally I'm downstairs. I got all my acoustic foam and crap down there. Would have nice curtains and stuff. Like when I did my thing with with Hannibal, I had all was down my couch. Had my nice mic, my pop screen. Now you got me on my phone, so got it nice and charged up. And I'm hoping that the sound quality is good, considering I'm only on a phone, not using a microphone. Because with this, I got ambient noise, I would think in my background. I'm hoping that I could have a fan keeping me cool over here.
No, your picture and sound is great. Wanted to just do name association with you because you've been in the ring with or teamed with a lot of legends from the golden era of pro wrestling. I'll just give you a couple of thoughts on each, starting with Tito Santana.
Wow. And that's probably I was the one that was coming to my mind first. That was also Tommy D, who I had mentioned, that promoter. Yeah, there was, I guess I was doing this thing, a Chris USA Michaels gimmick. That was my thing at the time. And and of course, I want to keep on throwing these names. I just say a name association just to throw stuff out there. And my tights and stuff was made by the late Exotic Adrian Street. So that had really that had significance and meaning to me, considering where it came from, and because I specifically designed it, and then he used my design to sell to other people that wanted to use the same gimmicks. Like, thanks a lot, pal. But yeah, so I used, and so they needed to team me with a baby face, and there's one person in wrestling that has never had a heel turn, and that's Tito Santana. And so the consummate babyface, he was still relatively fresh off of television, and best thing in the world for me, because at that time I was living in Brooklyn. We were running out of Brooklyn, and we were packing the places for an indie company, Universal Wrestling Superstars, which was Tommy D's company. That's why it was the Universal Wrestling Superstars Tag Team Champion with Tito. This was a time that you could fill a place with rainbow-colored posters. You didn't have a collage poster with every swinging dick and his friggin' cousin and an asshole that's recording the guy doing his high spots in the background photobombing. Jesus Christ, you don't need 75 people on the goddamn poster, because trust me, you don't fill the seats. That to me is the stupidest. And I'll say it, all the companies, even the big companies that do it, you're stupid. Especially if you go into a town. To me, the rainbow poster, at 200 yards away, you see it. So before you even get to the poster, you know something exciting is coming to town. And that's what we did. And I can't tell you 3, 4, 5 in the morning stapling fucking posters at telephone poles to do shows, selling tickets. You did what you had to do. The stuff to put on a show, the behind the scenes crap, it's not glamorous by any means, but it gets the job done, because the end result is asses in the seats and happy people when they're leaving. 100%. And we did that. And we did that plenty.
What about the Raging Bull Manny Fernandez?
He definitely lived up to the name, because he was still young enough at the time to still put a good beating on. And I did a shoot on him one time in one of these groups we were in. We were friends on Facebook a while ago, but I guess no longer since, because we probably have been interacted. That's all right. But I did a shoot thing on him. I said, I want to do a shoot on Manny Fernandez, and I was mentioned that and it wasn't ripping on it. It was actually was like an experience that know who you're working with, do your homework. If you got a guy that works tight, if you understand business terms, working tight is rather some would say stiff. I would say tight. To me, stiff is the way you're supposed to, because it's supposed to it's supposed to stimulate a real fight. And if I'll borrow a phrase from a good friend of mine, Greek god Papa Don, for all you jabronis from Leg Slap City, please fucking stop. Please. The guys that do this, it's like, fuck you, up to my shoulder. I'm like, why are you doing that? No one punches like that in a real fight. You don't see anybody doing this and he's come and scream World Star after that. Or the ones with the leg slapping. It looks like you're at a backyard barbecue and nobody brought the citronella candles. Stop. I would do the old school start like this and bottom 3 fingers, and you pop him in the side of the neck. That's why you brush his chin up to keep from breaking his jaw. And anyone who knows that, and look, if you can't take 3 fingers to the side of your neck, buy a fucking ticket. You don't belong in the business, trust me. Because most of you kids that are growing up, if you didn't get the boot, look at it. You had to buy your stuff from K&H. You you buy your boots from Cage, you'd have letters to prove you weren't a jock sniffer. Times have changed. Now you get a gimmick from some guy in India and freaking, you know what I mean? So it's like it's completely mainstream and invaded. They've crossed our border, which is the guardrail.
What about another individual that we lost recently, Virgil?
Oh, geez, and I wrestled him too. Wow, funny.
Yes, sir.
Funny you say it. It was a great match, and I wish I had it on tape. But just quickly before I just mentioned Virgil, because he was always a gentleman to me. Like I mentioned, Wrestling Manny, I worked him easy. I didn't work him stiff or work tight. He beat the crap out of me. And when I got to the back, he was yelling at me because I didn't lay him in. I said, well, for fuck's sake, you should have told me before you went in there to lay him in. I said, that's how I was brought up. But I was respecting you. Like if I wrestled Tito that way, or you would have been, oh, brother, easy, chopped on this or that. You got to know some guys. Hey, you got to know the limits. Some guys, oh yeah, you can staple shit on my forehead. I'm cool with that. I'm like, oh, yeah. Not me, but know the limits of the guy you're working with, because you may start working a guy in his match, and next you don't find out the guy is, okay, well, I got a better nails I'm bringing out from under the ring. Wait a minute, better nails? What are you talking about? We didn't discuss this in the back. I'm going to try this thing. It's my first time trying. It's okay. In a match, you're going to do this? No, we're not. But, and I was rambling, giving you some, I'm just trying to give you some good content, some good background stuff that people sometimes never see. Always cheers, fast up, but to talk about Virgil, like I said, Mike, great guy. You definitely didn't want to stand next to him in the shower because he felt inadequate. Him and FD Jones, the two guys you didn't want to shower next to because, it was just like, all right, when you guys are done, let us know, okay? We're just, yeah, it was. It was always a joke, but great match I had with Virgil. A lot of work, a lot of back and forth. Excellent. Tommy D again. Thank Tommy D for that one too. And I'm really glad I didn't jump on the whack-a-mole with everybody jumping on the bandwagon with shitting on Virgil. The guy was, pretty much like a single man's worst fear of dying alone is dying at the fucking conventions. Yeah. The last thing I want to do is end up. What I did the thing I was ripping on Tony Atlas, and it said it'd be. Well, I can't say it now because because it was God. But it said Tony Atlas, you're gonna wind up spending your last few days on the circuits, so they go home fight Virgil in the hockey talk, man. Oh God! And now I guess Tony is finally letting it out to the world of his foot fetish. Now he's sharing all of his foot pictures.
Oh my God! Yeah. Interesting.
I remember getting girls to stand on his face back when I was with the Savoldis. He see that girl out there? See if you can get her to come here and talk to Tony. I want her to step on my face. I'm like, all right, Tony, what's in it for me? Well, we'll see if we can get Kokomo Joe to get us some smeeds. But and Kokomo Joe's a story for another time too. If you ever get Tony, that'd be hilarious. But yeah, wow. Tony, that's why them and Kokomo Joe, yeah, and me. And I didn't know about his foot fetish until we were ready to go home. And I want to say talk about it later, but this is actually what made the story. Is as we're getting ready to leave this place, because I drove the ring truck and Tony used to ride with me because he didn't drive. We come and just as we're getting ready to leave, this guy Kokomo Joe comes running up to the truck. Oh, Tony, can I get an autograph? And I had all the 8x10s. I mean, Chris, give me an 8x10. There you go, Kokomo Joe, Tony Atlas. Lots of love and a great big kiss with these big lips on there. I don't know why, whatever that was. And then he gets, oh, Tony, oh my God. I'm like, oh boy. And he used to get us, joints. So he once equipped us with another couple for the road. And he goes, now remember, Tony, and this is verbatim, And if you ever do Tony Atlas, I'm not doing, but ever have him on your show, ask him about Kokomo Joe, and the first thing he does say, "Fucking Chris Mike." But so when that happens, he goes, all right, Kokomo Joe, thank you so much for these joints, and thank you so much. He goes, all right, well, Tony, you remember, you come back up this way, you look up Kokomo Joe, and I'll give you the best blowjob you ever had. And I was like, one of those, what? So we like both looked at each other, and like, alrighty then.
Off we go.
Let's go. So ever, I drive like, Tony, you heard what that guy said, right? He goes, Chris, now I know what he said, and he kept us in weed for all this time, but I ain't gonna judge nobody for what they do. But hell, I jerk off on sneakers. I'm like, oh hell, come on, Tony, that's enough for one day, man. Jesus Christ. There's enough of this guy. That guy didn't take the picture book out, but so funny road story, all right, with Tony.
That's amazing, and Bill, as expected, we've like blown through the hour. So can you let the fans know where they can keep up with you on social media? Anything? I know we talked a little bit at the start, but anything that you would like to get out there to promote?
Yes, nywcwrestling.com. They're based out of Deer Park, New York. Like I said, it's a wrestling school, not necessarily a mainstream organization, although they have all the potential to do it, and it's just a matter of, I believe it's just a little bit of time. We just got to tweak a few things. Like I said, Mikey Whipwreck is there. He's there. He maintains the quality controls, doing an excellent job. Of course, I help instill some of that stuff in him because I just wanted to pass on tradition. Look them up; they're a great place. I'll be soon having an Uncle Billy Facebook page. It's a fan page. Started making it because I have to make another one for my character. And with the tag team is called Dirty Deeds. I want to mention Dirty Deeds, and please look up the NYWC Facebook page. You'll see more updated videos there from what's going on with Dirty Deeds, Mr. Entertainment, the FBI, yes, the full-blooded Italians. They are also out there, and well, we got some stuff going on with them because they gave us a beat down, and I'm out in my Uncle Billy character right now because we're talking, but we're just talking behind the scenes. But they beat us up. We were banned from the facilities. The whole big storyline, but I invite you to check it out because they really put a lot of time and effort, not just into the vignettes that they do, but it would be encouraging for these young people who I guarantee will be seeing on television. If you haven't already seen some of them on there already, I'd like to say, watch them develop, watch them start, be part of their journey. Let this be part of watching someone develop their career and be their journey, like the ones that grew up with the Hulk Hogan generation. Now have kids, they grew up with the Attitude Era, and then we don't know what the hell happened after that. It got kind of weird, but it's getting kind of back to a little more craziness now. Now the AEW, there's kind of like the wrestling wars back and forth again. They still got a ways to go, AEW. I'm not going to crap on anybody because it's giving work to the boys and girls. So I ain't shitting on no one that's putting dollars in the pockets of my brothers and sisters. So God bless everybody running stuff out there. And I'd like to say thank you all for bearing with me and my digressions. I'll blame it on the weed, old age, chair shots. Yeah, not necessarily in that order, but I thank you, Jack. And now at least I know when people say you don't know Jack, I can say, yeah, well, I'll tell you what, pal, I do.
Damn straight. And I do appreciate your time, and we just, as I said, I feel scratch the surface in a lot of topics. And
we got plenty to scratch, and I'd like to really get Evan back on here because we did talk about the old school wrestling and scratch a little bit on the territories, And can I do a cheap plug for Evan too? 350 days. It's on Amazon. It's on every freaking platform out there. Support because 350 days is also an independent production. Remember, everybody starts someplace. Everybody starts someplace. Support your friends when they're in these rinky-dink little places with no air conditioning. Don't wait until they're in this mega place asking for free tickets, because you know what I'm going to tell you?
I couldn't agree more.
If you're not there for my journey, don't be there for my destination.
Couldn't agree more. Well, I really appreciate it again, Chris. We'll keep in touch and do this again. But
thanks, Jack. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
For now, that's this edition of the Cheap Heat Productions Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you haven't already,
Maurice. Wish you could have been with us.
He's out there. He's a busy man, but
he's out there.
He out there, not metaphorically, but absolutely in terms of one of the hardest working individuals in Ireland.
Absolutely. He sent me his schedule for, hey, when can you be on? I looked at that. I was like, Jesus. I said, man, when do you sleep? Wow. And that's what I love about him, and that's what made him get elected to his local office back home, and congrats to him for that also. He's an honest, upright guy, and he's got a face that everybody loves. You just got to do something with that hair.
Well, we'll explore that in a future episode, but that's it for this edition of the Cheap Heat Productions Pro Wrestling Podcast. For Mr. Chris Michaels and Morris, I'm Jack Kilby. See you next time.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel if at all possible.